gonna hold my breath until they actually come out with something without Activision, because maybe we'll be very, very disappointed.
Well, that could be true, but I mean, I would submit that, I mean, whether you agree or disagree, I would submit that it is, I would say that 60% of the problems with Destiny 1 and 2 were basically by Activision's involvement. Like, Activision did not make those games better.
Yeah.
And I know people are...
I agree with you on that.
I know some people are going to be like, well, what do you mean? I mean, think about it, okay? Like, the game was basically half-ass released. There were bits and pieces of it cut out in order to in order to get it out. Like, under the agreement that they had with Activision, Bungie had to come out with either a new game or a significant bit of content every year. Well, I mean, like, and since we're talking about Activision, that's one of our topics, so why don't we talk about it? I mean, like, legitimately speaking, like, there is no way that you can come out with, especially when you have something that's really creative. That's like going to an artist and saying, I need a award-winning masterpiece every year. Or to a novelist and saying, I need an award-winning novel every year. Like, you know, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that whole, if you get a 95 Metacritic, we'll give you an extra $1 billion. Like, what?
Yeah, like they did that to Obsidian with Fallout New Vegas, where like they had to get like 90% on Metacritic in order for them to get their bonuses, 90% or higher, and they got like 89, and they didn't get their bonuses. I mean, that's some fucking bullshit right there.
You know how you should get your bonuses? Sell a lot of games. That's how you should get your freaking bonus.
Well, the hilarious thing about Activision is that and this is kind of tangential. This is another topic, but I mean, they were talking about how we need to cut costs. We need to cut costs. We need to cut costs. It's too expensive for you to do this, and this. And yet they just hired someone to be the CFO over at Blizzard, and they gave him a $15 million signing bonus. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, if I'm like an average Joe Blow worker over there, if I'm like a developer or a co-developer, like, and I'm being told I need to cut my costs, and you just hired a motherfucker for $15 million who hasn't done shit. I'm like, fuck you. But I mean, speaking about Bungie and Activision, considering how happy they were to have announced that divorce, I mean, think about how the other studios that are over at Activision might feel about not being at Activision.
They almost can't wait.
I mean, you know. I mean, think about how, shit, I forgot their name. Beanox, or, you know, Beanox must feel. How those other little studios might feel over there. Those Call of Duty studios that are just continuously having to pump out fucking Call of Duty games year over year.
Yeah.
Of course, one of our contributors believes that Bungie is not good either. Saying that they just got lucky.
Okay, so here's the thing, okay? Like, I know that a lot of the people on Video Game Facts are Nintendo fans, but just because you're a Nintendo fan doesn't mean that you have to hate on people who make legitimately good games because you don't like the console they're on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are plenty of games I play that are not on Nintendo consoles.
Like, I'm not the biggest, like, to be fair, I've never owned an Xbox console, but I'll tell you, Halo is a fun fucking game. You know, Halo 2 was even better than the first game. Halo 3 is better than, well, Halo 3 is about
the
on
multiplayer.
I mean,
multiplayer was fun.
all three of the Halo games, like the first Halo was really good. Halo 2 was better than 1. Like for me, Halo 2 is like the best. And Halo 3 is about on par with Halo 2. But the multiplayer is better in Halo 3 than it is in Halo 2. But the multiplayer in Halo 2 is still pretty good. You know, like all three of those games are really good. And then Bungie leaves and Halo 4 kind of sucks. And Halo 5 kind of sucked, you know. So we can see where the talent went for Halo, you know. So
and I found it funny because I read some random guy's comments saying that 343 improved the Halo series after Bungie left. Which I call BS.
Well, I mean, he might believe that, but critically, that's not true. Because you ask most people who are fans of the Halo franchise, they'll say, "Well, which studios have made the better Halo games?" And I'm guaranteed, like 3/4 of them will say it was Bungie. Because 343, like here's the thing: Halo was always its own thing. Halo created trends, and then 343 comes in and they start fucking trying to be like Halo 4 was like Call of Duty. Like, why are you trying to make Halo into something that it's not? And the same thing with Halo 5 is that they were trying to be like Call of Duty, you know?
Yeah.
Being something that you aren't is just asking for trouble.
You know, it would be like if Nintendo said, "Hey guys, you know how we used to make Legend of Zelda be Legend of Zelda. You know, you go in a dungeon, you find an item." You said you find an item in said dungeon that you use to defeat the boss, and then you take that item and go to other areas. It opens up new areas to explore, that type of thing. Well, fuck that. The next Legend of Zelda game, you're going to be inside of a car. You're going to drive around shooting people. It's like, well, that's not really Legend of Zelda. Fuck you. It's a trend. You know? Like, people would be angry about that, and yet, you know, that's what they did. That's essentially what they did with Halo 4 and 5 is instead of creating something, they basically were following trends instead of creating trends, which is disturbing because, you know, Halo has always been more of a
gun game that has a story.
Well, no, I was going to say Halo's always been its own thing. Like no other first-person shooter that was in the same generation as Halo played like Halo.
Also, I should mention that's only one contributor who keeps saying that Bungie is never good and that all third-party games should come to Nintendo systems.
Oh well, then that's just a troll, man.
Troll? I admire his effort, though. Troll is a bit much.
No, that's
as in he's getting too much effort into the hopes.
No, that's just someone trolling. That's literally just someone trolling.
I mean, they single-handedly saved the Xbox. So
he's been
complete obscurity.
And his videos have been attracting a lot of trolls calling him out.
I mean, the only reason I'm saying that that's clearly just trolling is because it's unrealistic for you to expect every third-party game to come to a Nintendo. It's unrealistic to expect every third-party game to come to every console because that's just like you're not going to get every third-party game on the Xbox. You're not going to get every third-party game on the PC. You're not going to get every third-party game on the PlayStation. You're not going to get everything on everything. Right? Like maybe if you have two of the three consoles, you'll be covered, and a PC, then you can play everything practically. But even then, you're not going to get everything. So, you know, but
I have to own. I don't really want to own that much stuff.
Well, I'm thinking like technically there are 4 platforms. You got PC and then one of the 3 consoles. And that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I get why people want everything just to be on everything, but then you have, if that's how things work, you would have smartphones.
Well, no, if that's how things worked, the 3DO wouldn't have failed, because that was the whole premise behind the 3DO is that you had one console and every game you could play every game on that one console. Like you could play your Nintendo games on that console, and your Sega games on that console, and your PlayStation games on that console.
People tried that.
And Trip Hawkins fucked up because there was no way on God's green earth until Sega couldn't afford it anymore were they going to put their and like the day you play Mario on a PlayStation console, unless that shit was hacked, is the day that you know, Satan himself comes back and takes over the world. So,
yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, it seems kind of weird to me. That's all I'm saying. It just seems.
No kidding there.
People need to stop with that shit, is what I'm saying. Okay? They need to quit with that shit. Because that's what it is. It's just some bullshit.
It could have been worse.
So, your guys' thoughts on basically like how you feel the other studios may feel with the shit going on over there at
Blizzard, Activision.
Well, the shit that's going on in Activision, where they're like, you need to cut costs, and yet they're hiring people for $15 million bonuses.
Obvious that
crazy.
I was going to say, obvious is BS that somebody would do that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, that just seems a little weird to me, you know. That's like me going to my business and saying, hey, we need to cut costs. We need to cut costs. Oh, and by the way, I'm hiring a new general manager for $150,000 a year, but we need to cut costs. It's like, really? That's kind of a dick move.
Sounds like they're on the way to bankruptcy.
What, Activision? No,
Yeah.
no. This isn't a bankruptcy thing. What this is basically like Blizzard basically was like running themselves like an old school video game company. Like, you know, we have products, we support these products for years and years and years and years, you know, and that was costing money. It's the reason why they pulled support for that MOBA game that was, I mean, reasonably, you know, that had tournaments and shit. People were making their living playing that game professionally. Because basically, you know, they want to save money, because basically you've got people in finance running the company instead of people who know about making games. And sooner or later, Blizzard's going to go downhill. Which is sad, because Blizzard was one of the few parts of Activision that weren't fucked over, but apparently it's not going to be that way anymore, which is sad, you know. We'll never get that Lost Vikings 3, folks. We'll never get that Lost Vikings 3.
Yeah, I just yeah, a lot of these game companies just have too many people who all they care about is money and not the end product. Like EA, you know, Activision, WB, and even it seems like that with some of the Japanese companies as well.
Yeah, and we won't talk about the Capcom, but
even Atlas, you know, was playing around with that too with some of their fighting games.
I mean, yeah, but how much of that is Sega?
Not Atlas, but Arc Systems.
Yeah. How much of that is like them just trying to keep up with the Jones? The thing is that Arc System Works deserves to be #1 in the 2D fighting game sphere, because their games are that good. But the thing is that Capcom, because they basically created the market with Street Fighter 2, they kind of get the accolades for it, even though there's better 2D fighting games out there now. Because I mean, you can even if you're someone who likes Street Fighter 5, like you enjoy playing that game legitimately, you can't tell me that Street Fighter 5 is a good game. You know,
it definitely changed.
You can't tell me that it's like okay. Well, I shouldn't say you can't tell me it's not a good game. You can't tell me that it is on par with other games in its other 2D fighters in its same generation. Like, you can't tell me that Street Fighter is better than Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
You can't tell me it's better than Blaze Blue. You can't even tell me it's better than the latest SNK game. Like on a technical level, it's not as good as even past iterations. Like Street Fighter V isn't even as good as Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
And Street Fighter 4 wasn't a great game. It was solid. Like it was like a B-. You know, once you like when it first came out, it was a C, but once they did all the little different iterations and made it better, B-.
It's all thanks to the Rainbow Edition.
What?
All thanks to the Rainbow Edition.
Because basically, that without the Rainbow Edition, we wouldn't have gotten Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. Those back in the day would have been called patches. But they were cartridges. You didn't have patches back then. So in order for you to add something to a game, you just had to release a new game. And here's the thing. Each of those things added something better to make the game better. Like Street Fighter 2 by itself, normal vanilla Street Fighter 2, good game. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, better. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, better than that. New challengers, even better than that. They made it better. They refined the game with each new iteration. I mean, and they did that for multiple generations, like Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2. Like the different iterations, they made it better. Even Street Fighter 3, different iterations of that, they made it better. It isn't until Street Fighter 4 where it's like they're like, okay, like the game is so mediocre that they do new iterations on shit that it should have had. And that music in Street Fighter 4 is so bad. Oh god, that music is so terrible. How do you fuck that up? But anyway,
yeah,
we can move on to the next little bit of news on the podcast. I'm looking for the rubric, for the roster, for the Q to Q. Don't want to fill in dead space. Oh, yes. EA has canceled yet another Star Wars game.
They're working as intended. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but make that line up.
they've canceled like 3 or 4 at this point. They canceled the one.
Actually, they canceled 3 games in 6 years.
They canceled the one that Visceral was working on. They canceled the one that Amy Hennig was working on. They canceled the other one that the other lady who used to be over Jade, the one that Jade Raymond, the Assassin's Creed lady, used to be over. They canceled that one. So that's 3 games. And now they've canceled the open world game that was supposed to be what the Visceral Games was working on, but they were like, oh, we can't monetize a single player game. We need to be able to monetize this and sell people tons and tons of shit they don't need. So
That I can understand.
What, sad that they cancel it, or sad that you could understand they can cancel it, or understand that EA's just ruined another franchise?
More like sad that EA is doing this BS.
Well, they bought the license, and they say right now that the reason they canceled the open world game is because they want to put out a game they can get out quickly, which is never really I don't know about you, but I never feel comfortable or get warm and tingly or reassured when someone says we want to get a game out quickly. Because has there ever been a game that's been rushed out that's been good?
Nope, not ever.
Whoever it has, they got it so wrong.
Making a game is like baking. You cannot rush baking. Right?
If you undercook it, you're gonna have something terrible, and it's feeling rushed.
If you if you turn up the heat on a cake, it's like it says this cake has to bake in an oven at 350 for 30 minutes. And you're like, well, I don't have 30 minutes. I'll put this thing up to 500 and bake it for 10 minutes. That cake is not going to be done. You know, look, the outside is going to be crispy, the inside's going to be raw, or burnt. The outside's going to be burnt, the inside's going to be raw, and you're still not going to have a cake. Like, sometimes you got to take the time to do shit right, you know? This is one of those times where you got to take the time to do shit right. But it's EA, so what are you going to do, you know? EA, a legacy of bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And we do not even start on how they profit from their games.
You mean all the monetization and gambling, you know, things that are psychologically designed to get people who always think, well, this next one will have what I need, this next one will have what I need. Like, literally, it goes after people who have gambling tendencies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, South Park did an episode covering that issue as well. When he did a Terrence and Phillips mobile game that was meant to attract people with addiction.
That premium moment, right?
Well, that's EA for you right there. It's like, oh, we don't need to make a good game and keep the budget under control so it sells a certain amount of stuff. Fuck that. You know what we're going to do? What? We're just going to fucking... We're just gonna
hijack the entire thing.
We're just gonna get people addicted to this shit, so they'll keep on spending so stupid amounts of money on it. So we don't need to make a good game. Fuck no.
More like it's barely playable. You have to put money into it in order to make it better, and then recycle the process.
Well, I can't take it. I know some people are going to be like, but this is the way of the industry. It's like, I blame the gamers who bought into it. For all those people who kept on, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll just buy it anyway. Why do you have to have a new Madden, a new FIFA every year? Like, why? Like, I don't. Now, to be fair, you're talking to someone who is perfectly happy with Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl on my NES and SNES. So, you know, I've never been a Madden fanboy, but, you know, the point stands, you know.
Yeah.
Majoras Mask. Okay, Trinell83 has a comment. Majoras Mask was done in a year, I believe, and that was fine. It's possible to make a game quickly, but usually it'll be messed up. Yeah, but Majoras Mask, really about 70% of that game is recycled assets, just rearranged.
Yeah.
So
I would have said that would be that's the good way of recycling something that you've done already.
Yeah,
and
but
this is going to Bethesda.
Yeah, but the core mechanics of Majora's Mask, like the core of what that game is, like the engine and everything like that, all that shit was already made. Like, all they did was just take that stuff and remake it, which is why, here's the thing, Majora's Mask is a shorter game than Ocarina of Time. As a matter of fact, like, if Ocarina of Time can be completed in like 30, 40 hours, it's a 30, 40-hour game, Majora's Mask can be beaten in under 10 if you know what you're doing. Yeah. 15, like 20 if you want to explore all aspects of it. It's an expansion, okay? And an expansion can be done in a year. That's fair. But I mean, like, I don't really like, even though they sold Majora's Mask as a full price game, I don't really consider it to be like a full price game. It's an expansion to Ocarina of Time. With a little bit of new content, which isn't terrible, but it's not like, oh my god, we made a completely new game from scratch. Like, if you went to Nintendo after like they just released Breath of the Wild and you said, okay, we need another Breath of the Wild next year, new assets, new engine, they'd probably laugh your ass at the building.
Yeah.
Because the scope of what's going on, and that's basically what they were doing with Destiny, like, and it's what they do with Call of Duty. Yeah, it's the same engine, but literally, it's like you have to come up with new ideas relatively new ideas, new scenarios every goddamn year. That is insanely tough. Damn near impossible.
Especially if you keep on trying to cut where you can. Oh God, help you there.
Yeah, but they aren't cutting what they can because they absolutely need to do something new. They're cutting what they can so that they can put the money towards bullshit. Like giving $15 million bonuses to people who've done fucking nothing to earn it. Like, I don't think a CEO should make $15 million unless they did something. Like, okay, if you're the Pokemon Company CEO and you just released a game that sold over like 5 million copies in the first year, okay, fine then, give that man his money. But you know, like if you're just some guy just stepping into the role, you don't deserve $15 million.
Yeah. I mean, if they're giving it to somebody who has been a part of the company for like, I don't know how long Blizzard's been around, and they've been very successful with you know, bringing games to gold, you know, making games go gold and things being highly successful, then yeah, they deserve their money. They deserve their money. But if they're just some guy they hired off the street who maybe, I don't know, I don't know, just some upstart who really knew how to blow them away in the interview, maybe they should start at a lower rate, at least lower position.
I'm just saying, like, you really don't need to be able to fucking do that shit. That's all I'm saying. Like, you don't deserve. And this leads to another topic. A lot of people. This has been gaining traction all around the Twitterverse and various news sites. Do you think it's time for game developers to unionize?
I don't know.
Unionize.
Oh, unionize.
Yeah, unionize.
I don't think it's there could be some good, some bad that comes out of it. I mean, they would actually probably be put in better conditions if they unionize, but they might, you know, be forced to pay for various, you know, like political or other things that they don't exactly agree with. So I guess.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, unions are about workers' rights, and considering some of the shit that game developers have to go through,
I was gonna say, considering what we saw with Konami and other places.
Yeah, if there ever was a group of workers that desperately need
a union,
it's game developers. They desperately need a fucking union. And I think, I mean, I agree with you. Yes, there are some negatives, but I think they're more positives than negatives. Like, I think developers having a voice at the table when a lot of these decisions are made, like, oh, we need a new game every year from this studio. It's like, yeah, but the type of game we make doesn't really allow for a quick turnover, and it burns out our employees, which means the games are shittier, which means it hurts our critical rating, our reputation, which means we sell less games, which means we all make less money, which means in order to make up for that shortfall, you have to put in, you know, monetization schemes in order to get more money, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all this shit is related. You know, because basically developers don't have a union. They don't have any representation whatsoever. They don't even have collective bargaining. They don't get, but by and large, unless they have a really good contract, they don't get a share of the profits. You know, they get the reputation. They don't get a share of the profits. It's kind of fucked up, really. It's kind of fucked up. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? What do you think? Do you think that unionization would help Or maybe it would hurt. I'd like to give your thoughts on it.
Pinky's thinking that it can hurt. I think there's no way it could hurt considering what options are left.
Well, the option is that it continues the way it's going now, where basically the corporate,
what options are left.
Like you get what you have at Activision, which is where they're like, okay, you need to cut costs, you need to cut costs, you need to cut costs. Oh, we're gonna have some motherfucker come in here while we're telling you need to cut costs, and we're gonna give them $15 million to sign in.
Well, that's the thing. Game prices might go up because developers might become more expensive.
Oh, so
Really?
really? I'm gonna say this right now.
That's the argument. That's the argument
because of the VA union.
That's
some people.
That's the argument that people always make. But let me ask you a question. Would you pay $70 for a game that has less bugs, or even better, no bugs?
Oh, I've made that argument too. Like, I'll pay $80 for a complete finished game with no bugs. You know, I'll pay $70, $80 if you give me a complete game and DLC. Any DLC is not announced before the game comes out, or even the launch date of the game, and DLC is announced like a year later.
Yeah,
after the game's been released. Yeah,
I'm just gonna keep it real. I would totally pay. Like, here's the thing, okay? Like, you look at industries that don't have a union, and you see how the workers are fucked over, right? Yeah. And that leads to a shittier product. I'm sorry, more often than not, industries that are not unionized lead to a shittier product. Okay. Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm sorry, but okay. Like, you know, you look at places that are unionized, that have unions, you lead to if not a marginally better product, at least the workers are much better, especially if it's a service-based industry. The workers are much more obliged to act properly, more or less. But you were going to say something, Joel. Sorry to cut you off there.
I was being really into the moment of saying, really, the fact that people say that the fact that these guys are saying that it's too expensive to make games that are over $60 because it means that we're putting more into it, and you'll be burnt out because that means that you're paying more because we have to do more because we can't make you charge because you can't pay us more.
Also, isn't the fact that games kind of their fault because they're trying to make them more expensive?
Exactly.
What? Well, I think that argument is just, to me, it holds no water. Right? It holds no water that people keep on saying that games are gonna get, like, games have never been cheaper to make. All right, because here's the thing: back in the day, yes, games were smaller and used less memory, but like, there was more shit that went on to make a game. Like, now, if you want to make a model, there's software to develop a game. Back in the day, everything had to be done with programming language, and half the time you didn't even see what you were making in the programming language until you ran the program.
Yeah.
Like,
you didn't have dual screen monitors, I don't think, support back in the day.
No, not even that. It's like, okay, go and look up on YouTube some of the interviews that Tezuka Takashi and Shigeru Miyamoto talked about how when they used to do level design for the original Super Mario Brothers on the NES. And he'll tell you, like, if I made a mistake in design, I would basically have to go and get this the graphing paper that I used to map out the level, make a correction, and then give it to the developers who would go and plug it into the system. Like, that's basically how games were made back in the day. Mm-hmm. Like, and believe me, that's a lot more work than just going to a PC and drawing some shit out and then animating it. You know, I'm sorry. Okay. There's two people involved in that versus just one. Okay.
Yeah.
Possibly more than 2 people.
Because one guy could make a game, like a fully functioning game. And there are games out there which were created by one guy.
Yeah, or like 2 or 3 people in a garage.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, the argument, oh man, games will get more expensive. Like that. Like here's the thing, gaming is an expensive fucking hobby. It's not the most expensive. Model trains are the most expensive hobby.
I was about to say, how the heck can these trains get so expensive to the point that games are second place?
Because model trains, they have to get the rights to the trains, and those are really expensive, and they're all to scale and made with high quality materials that are close, if not emblematic, of what they're made out of, and they're complete details. Like you look at model train enthusiasts, like people who build entire dioramas, towns, cities. That shit is expensive. Like a single caboose at some of those train hobbyist shops can cost you $300, $400. Just a caboose, just a fucking caboose. A set of some of the landscaping for one of those sets can run you like $70, $60, $80, and that's just for a piece. Like if you want like some of the particulars to make the stuff yourself, it's even more expensive. I mean, it's like really people are always like, man, video games are expensive hobby. Video games are expensive hobby. Bullshit. Train collecting is an expensive hobby. D&D, if you're one of those people who has to have everything, that's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, that D&D is probably the third most expensive game that I would think of, right next to video games and, well, what was it? Oh yeah, these VR lovers.
Yeah.
Alongside with D&D is also the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games.
Yeah, but really, those were kind of expensive. But really, once you've got the peripheral, whatever, like Rock Band was kind of expensive because basically you had to have, like, if you wanted to have the full experience, you had to have peripherals for all of this. You had to have the drum peripheral, the 2 guitar peripherals, the keyboard peripheral, and that would run you like around $600. But once you got that, and a lot of time those came with the game. So once you got that, like you basically were set because like for that entire generation, with each iteration.
I was actually referring to the songs for Guitar Hero because of the licensing.
Yeah, but that's like a blanket license for like a catalog. They're paying for a catalog of stuff, and that's not really going to. I mean, that's why those games are $60 or whatever a piece. You know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, do you think it's time? I mean, I don't know about you. I think it's time for them to unionize. I think it's time for them to be. I think it's time for developers to be able to say, "Look, we're tired of getting fucked over. We're tired of being thrown down, thrown down a thing of stairs and being taken over, being treated like shit. And we're tired of it. We're tired of being, scapegoated for other people's bullshit."
Yeah.
I mean, would you guys be willing to pay more for games if they were higher quality than what we get now, where, a game like Fallout 4 comes out? I mean, Fallout 76. Fallout 4 was pretty shitty too. Fallout 76 comes out, and that game is still broken as fuck. Like, and they aren't really dealing with the underlying issue about why that game is so broken.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be. I mean, I know people have brought that up numerous times about paying more for games if they were actually complete and finished, and content wasn't cut out and sold back to you later.
I would pay up to $100 if games had. If games were more complete, weren't broken, and had a manual that came with it, I would pay $100 per game. No problem. Like for full AAA games, like there would still be a market for like your indie titles, your lower budget stuff. But for full, if I'm paying full AAA prices, there needs to be a higher level of quality. I know some people are going to disagree with me.
I'm waiting to see how true that is, because if they say that that quote unquote complete game costs us more because they can do less of their BS, I'm waiting to see it.
I mean, personally, and I've said this before, I mean, how much of this would just be some bullshit that they just use in order to charge you more money? Who's to say? But as it is right now, I mean, I can't legitimately say that I can't legitimately say that it's not a good idea for there to be, for like, if they have to raise the prices of games in order for the game quality to go up, I wouldn't mind paying more in order for the games to be better. But here's the sad thing: you probably wouldn't see games get better. They just charge you more because they can, and the games would stay just as bad.
Yeah, I question that, especially when I know that game technology has gotten better, that it wouldn't be so pricey. That's how come I question it. I mean, if these guys could make games that are higher priced, and yet technology has made the cost of them go down, there's something of an issue here.
Well, that's the problem, is that the games aren't getting better. You know, it's like they're always like, well, you know, we need to do this in order to make our games better. We need to do this in order to make our games better. Your games aren't getting better.
Yeah.
Like RPG, like here's the thing, okay? Like let's look at this from just a technical standpoint. I don't care if you like the game or not. Like, I've been playing Tales of Vesperia on my PC, and I've had more fun with that game than Tales of Zestiria or Berseria 1 and 2, Zestia, whatever, the last few Tales games that came out. I've had more fun with Tales of Vesperia than I've had in a Tales game in a long time. I would put it slightly behind Tales of Symphonia, because the protagonist of Tales of Vesperia is kind of an asshole. But aside from that, it's a pretty good game. And that's a game that came out almost 2 gens ago. Actually, it did all come out almost 2 gens ago, because it came out early in the Xbox's life cycle, the Xbox 360's life cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my fear. They would get games would get more expensive, and they wouldn't make them complete. They'll still cut content and still sell it back to you later. $80 game plus $40 season passes, plus another $40 for the second season.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is that there's no like, the problem with the video game industry is that there's no accountability. There's no like, they're never held to what needs to be, right? Like, I mean, I would wait 2 or 3 years for a game to come out if it was good. You know, to quote Shigeru Miyamoto, there's no such, like, if you can delay a bad game, delayed can become good. But if you release a bad game, it stays bad forever. You know?
Yeah.
And that's basically, I mean, that's basically gaming as it is right now. Is that people keep on releasing bad games, and no one calls them out on it. Except when it's particularly egregious, then they're like, "Oh man, you fucked up right there." But by and large, they don't do shit.
Yeah. Yep.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Can things get better, or are we doomed to just ridiculousness and failure?
I think we're
In order
doomed
for
to.
things to get better, we have to weed out the bad parts.
And will they ever get better? Will we continue to be left in the doldrums of bullshit till the end of time?
Probably.
Not unless you believe in a never-ending cycle.
The what?
A never-ending cycle where history repeats itself, where we take out the bad stuff, replace it with the good stuff, but then those good stuff eventually turn bad, and we have to replace them with what we think is good stuff, rinse and repeat.
I mean, that could possibly happen. I mean, anything's possible. I don't know. Personally, I mean, and I know some people are going to get angry when they hear this, but I don't really care because I get tired of people always getting upset when you say things that they don't like. They're like, well, I don't like that. Well, shit. There's a lot of shit I don't like, but you don't see me complain about it. Like, I do think things can get better. It's just going to take more than people are willing to give,
People may be willing to give, but some of these things have no excuse. So, if anything, that's my thoughts.
Well, how could it get better? Because it's pretty shitty right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but no, I'll wait for the next topic roll to say something because it really hurts me. Because it hurts me on favorite games level. That's why.
Well, okay, you can take the lead on this. What hurts you on? You can take the lead on the topic. Then, what hurts you on a favorite games level? Something that's kind of going downhill. That's not living to its full potential.
Seeing a game that's been seeing a game that has okay potential, or a game developer that's supposed to have made some great games in the past go right down the beep hole. And this goes this is going into a news shot that I recently heard. 94% of the player base have left Valve's newest game called Artifact.
Oh yeah.
And that hurts me because I'm a card game player and I actually know how that game works, and I feel that is more RNG than ever needed, and is unfairly priced and unbalanced in a sense because, oh god, you have to go through $20 in order to get your starter pack. You can't refund it, and the card packs that you get so far, you're more likely to get the starter decks.
Yeah. I watched the thing from Yin Yang Yao. Not Yin Yang Yao. Yang Yeah. We was talking about how basically how that game just kind of went to shit. But really, that's on Valve because they don't know how to make good games anymore.
I was saying that it's a bit bit of both in my sense, because Valve had the potential to at least try to make a game again to try to get their footing back, and look how far they fell from that.
That's true.
And the fact that it's a card game, no less, made by people saying that the best card game maker in the world, Richard Garfield. Oh God!
Yeah, he's
It
the
makes
Magic the Gathering guy.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if Richard Garfield is starting to falter, because he made 2 card games recently, and I'm already sick about one of them, and this makes me sick about the other.
Well, I mean, like here's the thing that people don't understand. Like, you can't be good all the time. You can't always be on top. Right?
True, but I was saying that I thought this would be a recovery. As in, the road to recovery to making games again. Boy, was I wrong.
What, Valve making good games again? Your thoughts on this, Kenoshi? If I could pull you away from Smash Brothers for a little bit.
Well, it's I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens. Sometimes it's not going to be the lightning in a bottle. You can only capture lightning in a bottle so many times.
Well, as Nintendo fans, I think we're kind of spoiled because we're used to, more often than not, even a kind of lackluster game for Nintendo is still pretty good. Whereas, for a lot of other people, a lackluster game for them is lackluster,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like not every Pokemon game's gonna light your fire, but even one that you don't like is still gonna have some aspect where you're gonna be like, oh, that was pretty decent. But
And then you got games like Yoshi's New Island.
I'm sorry, I don't like the Yoshi's Island games. I know some people are gonna get angry at me, but I don't like the Yoshi's Island games. Any of them.
Hey,
No,
they're not that bad.
I don't like any of them. I don't like Yoshi's Island. I find the mechanics to be a little too floaty for me, but to each his own.
Well, Yoshi was designed to be a floaty character, so.
No, like Yoshi didn't behave like that in other games. It wasn't until the Yoshi's Island games that Yoshi basically played like all floaty and shit. Like he initially didn't play like that until they changed it out. So.
Well, I mean, you are playing in a child's storybook.
Yeah, but still, I just don't.
I can understand that being your preference. I'm just saying.
I don't like it. No, sir. I don't like it at all.
Don't Stimpy.
like that horse. How do you like it? No, sir. No, sir, I don't like it at all. I don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it at all. Ren and Stimpy, a brilliant TV show that children should never watch. Especially not the adult party one that just basically confirmed that Ren and Stimpy are gay.
Among other things.
And Stimpy is the catcher and Ren is the pitcher. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah. Any other gaming news we can cover? Because I think we've hit the main topics. Oh yes, I forgot. No, I think we hit the main topics. Anything you want to bring up?
Let's see. I think I found one at Nintendo Soup.
All right.
Let's see if I can bring it up.
Okay.
Just to cover something that I think that was missed earlier, the recent game I'm playing right now, Pokemon Tournament.
Here it is. There's an article published from Business Insider and Nature articles saying that playing video games might result in more sociable, smarter, and successful people.
I don't know about that.
I think it depends on what you play.
I think that seems more like a correlation than causation.
And here are some key findings listed. Research shows those who game have more gray matter in the brain, which is more important for forming memories and strategic thinking. Kids who play games show improved social behavior and life satisfaction. Yes. And researchers say that this shows certain areas of the brain can be trained by playing video games.
Oh, that's true, because look at all those people who keep on paying for those microtransactions.
I mean, it depends on what kind of game you're playing. This seems more like correlation than causation.
As for
it also depends the lifestyle that you have and the lifestyle that you were brought up with. It also seems like correlation.
As for how video games improve kids' social behavior and life satisfaction, explain the mic spam of them swearing the N-word towards complete strangers online when playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you play. Like, okay, if you play Tetris, okay, you're really into Tetris. Obviously, since that's a skill, you basically figuring out how shit can fit. Obviously, with you having that mindset, you doing things that are similar to that skill, probably you're going to be really good at that, right? That's going to be like, but I mean, it depends on what you play. Like, I don't think people who play Call of Duty and Battlefield and other first-person shooters with voice chat, because I've played them on Xbox Live. I've been called the N-word over Xbox Live, and like, those people are not the cream of the crop. Let me put it that way. They are not. You know, these are not Martin Luther King Jr. All right.
Yep.
Right.
You know.
And Nintendo shares has been risen by 5% after analysis suggests Apple to buy the company.
What?
Apparently, Nintendo's shares has been risen by 5% after analysis suggested that Apple should buy them.
Well, Apple can try and buy them. I don't think they'd go for it, though.
Agreed.
Apple just completely destroyed Nintendo like they're destroying their own company.
And get this. I found this one user from the article that says he thinks this is a good thing.
It's a good thing that if Nintendo were bought by Apple.
Yeah.
Did they say why?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember the Pippin?
Here's his reason, and I quote, "Do it. This would increase our internet service performance online. Apple is already competing against Microsoft, Amazon, and Netflix. This would be Apple's small franchise grab. Both companies focus on the designer aspect of the business. Also, both Jobs and Iwata wanted to do more health-related activities with the companies they manage. Their legacies continue." End quote.
How can I put this nicely without sounding like a dick? How can I put this succinctly? Hell no.
There's no way of putting it nicely. You're freaking insane. I mean, who cares about games on the Apple App Store?
Well, I mean, it is a large. It is a large platform. It's only, I mean, I think Apple has like 30% of the smartphone market, and the other 70% is Android. So, there you go. But
Mine has a phone.
Well, no, Apple's never had the entire App Store to themselves. Like, I think when the iPhone first came out, it kind of maybe had like half of it, and the other half was split between the various other platforms. But over time, it's kind of gone down to like Android. The reason Android has so much of the market is because Android is like Windows was back in the day. Android is ubiquitous. It's on so many fucking platforms. It's so easy to use. It's so open that it just,
it fits.
Yeah, it fits. As far as Apple buying Nintendo, I hope not, because that would just not be a good thing.
Yeah, it would, considering the current state of Apple, it will only decrease the everlasting quality of Nintendo as a whole.
Well, I just think it would make it worse. I mean, let's keep it real, okay? Apple is not exactly what I would call like the best company of all time. Not even in the top 10. I know a lot of people love Apple products. I'm kind of like, I think they're kind of shitty, but that's my own personal opinion. Like their computers are okay, and that's about it.
Yeah. Their computers don't give you a lot of flexibility, though. Their operating system is nice, but
yeah, the best.
Doing it yourself doesn't give you a lot of flexibility.
Well, not just that. I mean, it boils down to the old PC versus Mac. Mac is really good for specialized shit, but the thing is that most people who need a computer are not going to need it to be specialized. They're going to need it for a lot of multiple applications, and for that, a PC is your best friend. Whether it's you build your own or it's one that's already been built. Like you want to be able to do a lot of different shit and not just, well, this computer is really good at business shit and nothing else, you know. Which is the problem with Mac products, is that they're really good at like one thing and that one thing only.
In short, if you want multitask, go with PC. If you want to aim for one direction, go Mac.
Yeah, basically that's it. There's your computer. There's your computer.
Gaming for the show.
Your computer tip for the day, folks. You know, if you got to multitask, get a PC. I mean, if you need something that's an all-around good for a little bit of everything, get a PC. If you specialize, like you just make movies and movies are the only thing you do, then you know.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, you guys remember the controversy regarding Nintendo of Russia's CEO, right?
Yeah, that dude who was a total asshole.
Yeah, it turns out that he only got a slap in the wrist, so he's keeping his job.
Of course he only got a slap in the wrist. It's part of the patriarchy.
Don't you
patriarchy
mean
is strong?
Russia patriarchy?
No, I just mean there's a patriarchy that's in place that protects the strong and shits on the weak. And that's just the way it is. And if people say, you don't know what you're talking about, look at the Catholic Church, okay? Look at all those kids that got molested. And look at how they, instead of protecting the weak, the people who were being victimized, they protected themselves, the people in power. So, and that's just the way it is. In most corporations that have something fucked up that happens, they protect the strong over the weak. Like 95% of the time. It's the only time that someone gets thrown under the bus is if what they did is so indefensible that like
even they can't hide from it.
It can't be hidden anymore. Like it's gonna come out. That's when they'll be like, "Oh man, I can't believe you did that. How dare you?" But more often than not, they just, you know. I know some people are gonna get mad when they hear that because people get angry all the time when you mention things like that. But I don't care. I don't care if you get angry because what I said was true. And if it's the truth, it'll set you free. That's what they say. Let's see if we have any more comments from the comment section. Nope, only Trinell. Trinell, if you wanna ask some questions, we will answer them in the podcast. Kenoshi, any thoughts you want to have? You have anything you want to share? Any topics you want to bring up?
Not really. Nothing really. I mean, it's January. It's cold outside.
Yeah, it's like 25 degrees where I am, and no cloud cover, so it feels even colder.
It's like 7 degrees where I'm at.
God damn.
39 here.
You make me happy that I don't live in Colorado anymore.
It's around 60 degrees here at my time.
Man, don't be bragging about that shit. Keep your good California weather to yourself. I mean, yeah, you pay for it with, mud season, fire season, smog season, but hey, when it's 7 degrees, people will say, I can handle some, and mountain lion season. People can handle a little bit of mountain lions for some heat.
Yeah, it makes you run. Makes you all warm inside as you run.
Yeah, I could see someone being like, mountain lion season, you mean cougar season, you mean hot older ladies who are into young men? No, literally, they're mountain lions. Look.
Your ass. Get out of there.
It would be hilarious if it was hot older women or young men season.
Susan.
It's cougar season. You mean mountain lion season? No, literally. Look at all those hot older women that look good too. If you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go get a date. But okay, so I guess we can move on to the next topic. If Pinky doesn't have anything else he wants to bring up.
Oh yeah, Fortnite's never-ending lawsuits from their dances.
You mean how they keep on stealing popular pop culture dances that turn out to belong to someone else, like the Carlton?
Yep. This time it's the mother of the orange shirt kid's dance.
I don't know that one. I'm sorry, but then again, I don't know a lot of dances except for the electric slide and the stanky leg and the Superman. That's all I know.
And even the most popular Fortnite dance was copied from Scrubs.
Yeah, that's Alfonso Ribeiro's. Not Alfonso Ribeiro's. Shit, forgot the guy's name. He's the guy who played Turk on Scrubs. Yeah, he stole his dance, which is just sad. Like, why do they keep on stealing people's dances?
They should be glad that it's not Dance Dance Revolution that did that, but still.
So we should keep in mind that copywriting dance core teams is fairly new. So who knows if it's okay or not to steal other people's dance moves.
Yeah, but they did steal people's dance moves, and that used to be a big thing back in the day. Like, people you stole James Brown's dance moves. People would steal. I mean, because back in the day, dancing was a really hot thing because we had something back in the day called Soul Train, where people would learn how to dance. For those of you young people who don't know what Soul Train is,
it was a show that came up every week that featured a lot of people dancing to certain musics and even performed in the concert there too.
Yeah, popular music of the time with Don Cornelius. If you want a reference to it, watch the Dexter's Laboratory, where Dee Dee wants to show Dexter her dance that she saw on a Soul Train-esque TV show from a guy named Big Daddy Fat. That's basically it's basically the same general principle as Soul Train. So basically, yeah. Yes, Soul Train was a cultural pop phenomenon. Sadly, it was taken off the air after a while, but I wish they'd bring it back. It could be on.
Continuing on the Fortnite talk, Netflix saying it's their biggest competitor. Or some
what?
Netflix.
Did I hear that right?
Yep, you heard it right.
Netflix considering this a competitor.
Saying what? A competitor?
Fortnite.
Why?
That's the question I have.
Is what they say. Netflix said that they have over 139 million paying subscriptions as of the end of 2018, which is lower than the 200 million registered users that are playing Fortnite. Consumer screen time, Netflix's most valuable metric, is something the company is competing with Fortnite for, as both the video streaming service and gaming are fighting for people's share of time.
Oh, okay, so that's what that's the competitor. I mean, I guess. I mean, I've played Fortnite. I was not that into it, but I mean, I know some other people might feel differently.
So yeah, they're both competing for people's attention. Oh yes, and apparently, and now we can move on to a couple of Nintendo-related news. Alpha Dream mentioned the reason why they skipped over Partners in Time for a Bowser's Inside Story remake is because they want to continue on with Bowser and Bowser Jr.'s relationship, with continuing on using the Goomba side story gameplay from the Superstar Saga remake with Bowser Jr., and also because Awful being the fan favorite of the series, they wanted to continue his arc, even though
I was going to say that's a bit iffy calling Fawful's arc into 3 games when he only was interactable with 2 of them.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think he's dissembling. I think the truth is that Partners in Time is the weakest installment of the 5-game series at this point. So I mean, they were like, people don't really like that one, so fuck it. that's what I think really happened.
But then it'll leave out the plot hole about the shrooms being optional bosses in Bowser's Inside Story. Newcomers may not know where they came from without the Time remake.
I was going to say that if anything, they should make the game, but I wouldn't. But I would say that they should not say that makes up the entire Fawful story saga.
Let me put it this way. If they're going to do a Partners in Time game, they need to fix that fucking battle system so it's like the other games and not use items. If they do that and then add all that extra content, I'll be cool with it. If they don't fix that battle system, fuck it. Don't do it. That's the way I look at it.
The battle system, I will admit, is annoying until you get a certain badge.
Yeah, but I mean, why should, like, the way I look at it is like this: if you have to get a certain special item in order to make combat better, that's not a good battle system. You know, never have I played a Final Fantasy game and been like, man, once I get this special badge, like using breaking the game by using the things that go on within the game in order to make it a more enjoyable experience. That's like a bonus. That's not something that should be necessary in order to make a game good, especially an RPG. That's just, you know,
I mean, the rest of the battle system, it's pretty good for me at least, because I'm able to try to get the timings down right on most of the moves.
Well, I mean, that's not the issue, because the time to attack has always been there in the Mario RPG series. But what bothers me with it, except for Sticker Star, because fuck that game. But what bothers me with Partners in Time was that in order for you to use your special attacks, you have to find items. And they're a finite resource, which is kind of like not cool.
Yeah. If they make a shop that you could buy these special moves, then at least after you earn them, then I could actually be more forgiving.
I'm just saying, if they fix that, if they said, okay, we know we kind of fucked up with that finite resource thing. We're back to badge points and flower points, and you find the item and now it's a special attack. Okay, cool. I'm cool with that. If they fix that, it'd be totally worthwhile. But if they keep that same, you got to find items, like if you want to use the shell attack, you got to find some shells. you could find my middle finger pointed in your face. That's what you can find.
And continuing on with the Bowser's Inside Story remake talk, they found there was a major bug that's been discovered that can wipe out your entire progress.
That's not good.
Wait a second. That's in which game?
Bowser's
Inside Story.
That's surprising because I have that game.
On the 3DS?
Oh, not that variant.
Oh, then you're fine.
The bug is that if you lose Mario and Dimple Woods and return to the previous area, Luigi will get stuck and the whole game crashes.
So this is just on the 3DS, right?
Yeah.
Well, then it's not an issue. It'll get fixed with probably a patch.
Welcome to the current year, everybody.
Yeah, even Nintendo's not immune to this bullshit.
At least if anything, their patches are at least patching up things that are clearly broken and not in the entire game.
Yeah, but I just have one problem. How are you gonna have the original game be no patches beginning to end, great game, and yet the sequel, the remake, is has a game breaking bug, but the original is flawless.
I at least admit that times have changed and some not for the better, but at least it's not so outrageous.
I'm telling you something. Someone needs to do the shame bow. They need to do the shame bow at the studio that made Alpha.
Yeah.
They need to get the shame bows where they get on their knees and then they bow down to their heads on the ground and they're like, "I'm so sorry." They start crying. "I'm sorry." You need to apologize for that shit. Because that's fucked up. That's like when Nintendo said, "Okay, we're doing a re-release of update, if you will, of Super Mario World for the SNES, but we're doing it in the new Super Mario Brothers graphical style. But other than that, it's going to be and with some new additions. But other than that, it's going to be basically the same game." And then and then they have a game-breaking bug. And like, how the fuck do you fuck that up? Like, how does it happen? Oh, Nintendo. Oh man, it was a sad day when Satoru Iwata died, because man, this does not bode well.
Moving on, South Africa is increasing their Switch eShop prices tomorrow.
I'm glad I don't live there.
Yeah.
But then again,
other countries just have it so bad when it comes to video games.
But then again, I'm a descendant of slaves. I don't want to go back to Africa anyway. Fuck that shit.
And finally, Nintendo's president has just basically stated that the 3DS will not be discontinued and will continue coexisting with the Switch.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a line that goes with this. 3DS haters that want the system to die. They're crying in their beds right now, weeping and saying, "It can't be true. It can't be true."
So they're being like Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back. It's not true. It's not true. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Oh yes.
Well, they don't. Of course, they're gonna say that. They're not gonna. They don't want to hurt their product in any way, shape, or form, even if they are planning on phasing it out within the next year.
And not to mention that the 3DS has no competition. Like none. Like it has.
Let's see. The only competition that was around at the time was the PS Vita, and look where that is right now.
What, you're gonna tell me smartphones is its competition?
Well,
everybody likes to tout how powerful smartphones are now, but how many people are actually using it to play? How many developers are making their biggest games on that thing?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, you're right. The smartphones in terms of gaming are not competition for the 3DS. But when it comes to time and people keeping it on their person all the time, like I used to carry my 3DS everywhere with me. It would be in my car.
I still do.
I don't do that anymore because basically, well, I mean, I don't have the luxury of being able to commute everywhere all the time on mass transit. So it's not really like I don't have the time to be able to sit down and just play my 3DS like I used to.
Well, phones are, they're more than just a gaming machine. They're also
that is correct. But I play a lot of games on my smartphone. Well, actually, just one game. There's like one game that I play the shit out of. And I've talked about it before because I'm still a huge fan of it. It's Pixel Dungeon. It's like a little roguelike RPG. But basically, like, so in that regard, yes, the smartphones are a competition in terms of time, not gaming, but time that people spend on it. And it is true that a lot of the companies that used to put major games on the 3DS that helped propel that handheld into being a viable handheld that, people would play are moving games over. Like Pokemon's not putting a Pokemon game on it. What's his name? The level 5 people are putting the Yokai Watch is being put on the Switch instead of that, like Yokai Watch 4. So like as major companies that used to put their games on the 3DS or the Vita are just putting those games on the Switch. So I mean, unless Nintendo unless they're just gonna unless you're happy to get a whole bunch of ports of old shit that you probably already have on the 3DS. I mean, I don't see how viable of a counter platform it's going to be for people who want new shit on the system. But with that being said, I mean, if you're a kid or you want to get your kid into gaming, you can get a 3DS for like $79.99.
Oh, it's a great little device if you're a kid. I mean,
or if you just want to have something to play with that's going to have a huge library, you don't want to put a lot of money into it, it's great. But as being a viable, as being another pillar for their 3-pillar strategy, I think that pillar is getting some cracks in it. It's getting kind of old. I'm sorry.
It may be getting old, but if anything, it still has no competition. So why should it really be saying otherwise?
Okay, here's my question to you. Okay,
they'll probably discontinue it when its successor sells more than it, gets more sales than it.
No, the successor is not the Switch.
Here's my question. Here's my question about the 3DS. Okay, since you said just because it's old, why should you get rid of it? Would you compare a 1967 Mustang to a 1997 Mustang?
I get the point. I'm just saying that why should they get rid of it now? Say when there's nothing that's yet to come out for it.
No, I'm not saying they should get rid of it, but I mean we can all agree that basically what we're going to get on the 3DS. If you love your 3DS and you love playing with the 3DS and you want new games, like new content coming to it, unless you're going to be happy with just a whole bunch of enhanced ports from Nintendo themselves, because a lot of the third parties that used to put games on the 3DS aren't putting games on the 3DS. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to see the level of support for the 3DS that you saw in the past. So, like, my point is that,
I admit that variety is getting a little small as far as new games, but I'm at least able to look back into their past and get some games from there.
Oh yeah, look, the back catalog is great, but I mean, we're all gamers here. We all keep our old shit. I mean, I love my old catalog of games. I still have my Super Nintendo, my NES. It's the reason why when the Nintendo Online thing, they were like, okay, so these are peer-to-peer servers, so it's basically using my internet to pay for it. So what I'm paying for really is the privilege of having access to your library of games, but I already have all these fucking games, so. Like, what's
that's the thing? I actually don't. So you, you're out of it than you do, definitely.
For me, it's like, no, I'm not paying for it. But I mean, not everyone can have access, and not to mention, not only do I have all these games physically, but I also have a lot of them digitally multiple times. So I'm really angry about the Nintendo Online Service. But it is what it is. So I mean, okay. So they're still going to support the 3DS until, like, basically they can't
Its successor comes up.
Until they come out with a successor. So, knowing how Nintendo is, what do you think a 3DS successor would look like? Now, when you answer, please keep in mind you have to guess a gimmick that it would have to make it unique and stand out from from other things. You have to keep in mind the price point, and we're going off the assumption that the Switch is not its successor. And before anyone says anything, the Switch is a home console that is portable. It is not a handheld. So before anyone says, "Well, the Switch is obvious," no, it's not. So who wants to tackle that first? Since you're playing Smash Brothers, I'll let you go first, Kenoshi, so you can get back to it.
Let's see. I don't know. Maybe they'll just continue the DS family, or maybe heck, they'll bring back the Game Boy family.
Price point?
I think 150. Since a lot of these high end, I mean, it's probably getting cheaper to make portable games look good. So, or portable game consoles be powerful.
So you think 150 is the sweet spot?
150 to $200.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
This would probably be the most expensive, but I think it probably makes the more sense that we might get dual touch screens to work with, as well as the control system. And basically, we might be able to have smaller cartridges with backwards compatibility. Hopefully, I said hopefully because if anything, that's been the staple of mostly every handheld so far.
I don't think it. Well, I mean, backwards compatibility would make sense with the 3DS successor.
For one generation.
Well, it would make sense for the 3DS successor because the 3DS is what, 80 million at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it would make sense for them to be able to get at least like 10, 15 million right off the bat of that 80 million to get the new handheld. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully, I said hopeful backwards compatibility at least one generation, because if anything, we at least had backwards compatibility with mostly every other handheld with Nintendo.
Yeah, the Game Boy Color was compatible with the Game Boy. The Game Boy Advance was compatible with the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy. The original DS was compatible with the Game Boy, all the Game Boy games. So it would make sense for them to continue that mantra of backwards compatibility with their previous generation of handhelds.
Yeah, and if they don't, I'm probably going to say the price is going to drop on this, but my guess range is 140 without backwards compat, 180 to 190 with backwards.
All right.
And while we're talking about this, I don't think the Switch. Everybody's talking about the Switch Mini. I don't think the Switch Mini is going to happen.
Same here.
I don't see the point. I don't see the point of them doing a Switch Mini. I mean, if they're going to do R&D for a small handheld that's relatively powerful and can do a lot of stuff, it would make more sense for that to just be the 3DS successor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, it just makes more sense. Built for the ground up, it's got backwards compatibility with the 3DS and maybe the DS too, because it's the same size cartridge and a lot of the same technology. And maybe I don't know, what's your speculation, Pinky?
let's see, outside of the backwards compatibility with the 3DS, perhaps they could implement augmented reality as a gimmick.
So you think they double down on what they tried with
their AR cards,
with the AR cards, but make it better?
Yeah.
All right.
Probably. I don't know.
They'll probably retain the 3D effect, the 3D without glasses effects, but more focus on AR.
I'd be cool with that. But then again, I like.
I was just wondering what kind of games will be suitable with AR technology.
I think you could do some cool shit with AR.
True.
I mean, the thing is like they'd have to bridge that gap between, like they'd have to bridge that gap between basically like having a new gimmick that's appealing while at the same time not alienating people who don't like all that weird shit. Kind of like how people felt about the Wii, remember? Like there were people who like, I just want a controller in my hand and play the damn game, but you're forcing me to do all this motion control shit, you know? So, I mean, and there were some games that they made for the DS with the dual screen thing going on where it was like, this is this is unnecessary. Like the dual screen did not need to be wedged. The stylus and the dual screen didn't need to be here. So, I guess it's my turn. My thought is basically this. Essentially, I think. What's the price point, Pinky?
Oh, the price point will have to be perhaps around 200. Perhaps somewhere close to $200. Like 180.
All right.
You guys, it's your turn now.
Yes, it is. So my idea is a handheld that is comparable to that's backwards compatible with the 3DS. Maybe the DS as well, since the architecture is like the same basically, except the DS cartridges are smaller. The games, the cartridge size was smaller, but it's basically the same architecture between the two. So that would mean that whatever the form factor the handheld took, it would have to also kind of simulate the dual screen. I don't think it would be dual screen. It would probably simulate it. Because, I mean, at this point, I think the dual screen thing, if Nintendo came out with this handheld successor to the 3DS and it was another dual screen, I think that would be like, okay, that's a little too much. Personally, I think they should bring back the Game Boy, except don't call it the Game Boy because of, you know, misogyny. They should call it the Game, the Game Child.
They can't call it Game Gear either because that name's already taken.
No, I said they should call it the Game Child. Because in Korea, they made a shitty handheld that looked like a Game Boy, but it wasn't. And they couldn't call it the Game Boy. They called it the Game Child. So it's now things have come full circle. So they call their handheld the Game Child. Therefore, it's gender neutral. Okay? It's gender neutral for everybody. And then you can get like here's Nintendo can monetize it because you get plates to put on it that basically say like different stuff. So like you can get like a SNES plate to make it look like an SNES theme. You can get like a DS plate to make a DS theme. You can get a Game Boy plate so then it says Game Boy on it if you're old school like me. But anyway, And the price point, the unique gimmick to make this thing interesting to people who, to get people interested in it, in my opinion, would be I'm gonna double down on the AR thing. I think there will be games where basically there will be portions of games where you can basically, like, there's a camera on the thing, and, like, let's say you have something in front of you, and what's in front of you gets put into the game. Like, you'll be able to use stuff like Amiibo. Instead of tapping it, it's literally scanning the Amiibo in front of you, and it's put into the game. I don't know how they'd use that in a game. I think there's some cool shit you could do, but, it would take a lot to describe. This is a short segment. And price point, I'm thinking between 150 and 200. So, like, one on the low end, maybe 170. On the higher end, 189. Never 199.99. Like, that's too much. But 179 would be great. Between, like, closer to 150 is better, because then it becomes like I went to the store and I just bought it. 200 is like, you got to think about it. Over 200, okay, I'm definitely not just gonna go and buy this. 179 is you go to a Costco, they buy bulk, and you pay like 139 for it, like, in March. Like, that price could be done. But that's my those are my thoughts.
Your thoughts on it?
Those are my thoughts. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up before we get to the end and wrap things up?
Oh, yeah. Yes. There was this one news article I wanted to discuss last week, but we didn't have enough time. And also because the whole fire alarm issue I had.
Okay.
Creatures Inc., one of the co-owners of the Pokemon franchise, got into serious trouble with Chinese and Korean consumers over their visit at a shrine.
What happened?
Let me look into the name of it.
Is this about Japan invading Korea back in the day?
It was the Yasukuni shrine that they visited and took selfie pictures over there, and it caused outrage from the Chinese and Korean users. So Creatures Inc. quickly deleted those selfie pictures, which led to another problem, not apologizing to those users.
Yeah, I don't think they should have done it.
At least it wasn't a YouTuber, but
so now the Chinese and Koreans are planning to boycott Pokemon games.
I think they fucked up when they did that, because here's the thing: like, China and Korea are always looking to start some shit with Japan, because back in the day Japan invaded those two countries and kidnapped women off the streets and turned them into prostitutes for their soldiers, and had a legacy of brutality and just kind of some really fucked up shit. So, they're not too, and the Japanese by and large have never really acknowledged that they did that shit. So,
yeah, the Yasukuni Shrine is controversial because there have been 14 war criminals from the Sino-Japanese War buried there, alongside with 1,000 others deceased Japanese.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of like already kind of a touchy subject. So, they kind of, they should have went there and been respectful, and then left, and maybe went to the shrine today. A lot of history. Don't do selfies at a shrine. Like, you wouldn't go to a church and take selfies. And that's basically what a shrine is. It's a church, a place of worship. You don't take selfies at a fucking church.
Well, the thing is, in Asian culture now, today's modern Asian culture involves them taking selfies of themselves in exotic places in their home country.
Yeah, that's fine and dandy, but you still just don't. I just said you don't take pictures in a church. It's a place of worship. Yes, I know it's also a tourist site and shit like that, but there are places in churches that are tourist sites where you can take pictures, and there are places where you can't take pictures. And I'm guessing the place where they took this selfie, it's like they didn't see anybody else fucking taking selfies. I bet you. They just decided to do it themselves. They didn't see anybody else doing the shit. But I could be wrong. You know, I'm just a man.
The reason why people
pictures of them outside the shrine,
as in the most public of spots to be at in a shrine.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's a little pushy because that means that that will be of idea of thinking of what is a place to do it properly and which place isn't, because, well, if you think of it, it means that you're taking a picture outside of a certain area is not okay, but taking a picture inside is okay in a sense.
I mean, I really just don't think people should be, and this is just my own personal opinion. I don't think you should be taking, never has it occurred to me, you know, when I've gone to a church, let me take pictures in a church. Like, especially when, I mean, these are places that there could be a diplomatic incident. People might not, and here's the thing. This is a company that, I mean, Pokemon Go is still making a lot of money. We're talking billions of dollars of revenue generated. Billions of dollars of revenue generated. Like, this is a lot of money at stake just so that you can take fucking pictures, bitch. Look. How about you don't take a picture and then go get a postcard?
If they have one. But yeah.
These places always have postcards. I mean, look, I live in the DC metropolitan area, and if the city wasn't shut down because of assholes, you would be able, like, you could literally go around and buy a postcard of everything you want. You know, like, you can get a postcard of the Jefferson Memorial, you can get a postcard of the Lincoln Memorial, you can get a postcard of the Washington Memorial, you can get a postcard of everything you want. So, I mean, if they're like that here, I know they're like that in other places. I fucking know it. All right, I know it. All right. So, you know, but it's their problem, you know.
And with that said, I got nothing else.
All right. So, anyone have anything else they want to bring up, or?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's a little odd that we got 0 right now.
Okay, then. So that's the end of the podcast. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Pinks usually you do.
Well, I'm planning to do a article on my overall thoughts on the Crash Insane trilogy because I've already completed the third game 100%.
All right.
Just now.
Okay.
Basically, Crash 1 is trash, Crash 2 is not trash, and Crash 3 is almost trash.
Ow!
So are you saying that Crash Bandicoot, like I've been telling everybody, is overrated?
Yep.
Oh my God. People...
The sodium is real.
Oh, I mean, I've been telling people this for years. Crash Bandicoot is overrated, but you know, some people got to find out firsthand. Kenoshi, anything you want to pimp out?
No, I'm not really planning to do anything.
You working tomorrow?
Yeah, I work tomorrow.
That's a damn shame, man. That's a damn shame. Joel, anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Well, if anything, I'm thinking about asking somebody to help me with a beyond level 1 review if possible. But
of what?
If possible, Smash Bros. Because that's a game that's so big that. Because if anything, that's a game that's big. That's bigger than me, anyways.
Tomorrow is the 20th anniversary
of Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I won't be celebrating it.
I thought you'd at least be celebrating it by getting the Smash in.
No, tomorrow's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so I will be out volunteering. So that leads to my pimp out. I am not pimping out anything game wise. Of course, every Sunday we do BS Busters. I might do a midweek BS Busters light. Maybe don't hold me to that. I might.
We'll find out when it happens.
Yeah. But keep your calendars open. It could happen. Keep in mind tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A lot of people treat it as a day off, but
some people work that day. So
yeah, a lot of people treat it as a day off. Some people have to work. If you have to work, good. I don't have to work, but
you're a volunteer for something.
I'm volunteering at a community center where me and a whole bunch of other people will be making little packets, little packets to hand out to people so that they can stay safe sexually. So yeah, that's my volunteering for tomorrow. So remember, there's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Anybody can be great because anybody can serve. So yeah, keep the dream alive. And with that, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you and have a good day.
And hype responsibly.